pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, let's get started this evening with the approval of the prior town board minutes. We have our August 5th regular board meeting minutes. Anybody have any questions, comments, corrections?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, we have a special meeting that was held on August 15th. Any questions, comments, or corrections?
Move to approve.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Excellent. Okay. Let's move on to the clerk report. Mary, if you would, please.
Town clerk's report for August 2013. Building permits, $1,500. Certificates of occupancy, $250. Dog licensing, $32.50. Vital statistics for marriage licenses, $17.50. Certified copies, $50. Total check for the general fund, $1,860.68. Trust and agency for inspection fees collected, $1,000. Total check for the trust and agency, $1,000. Paid to New York State Department of Ag and Markets for dog surcharges, $13. Paid to New York State Department of Health for marriage licenses, $22.50. Paid to New York State Department of NCON for decals, $183.32. So the total for the month taken in was $3,079.50.
Oh,
Yeah, good month.
motion to approve the clerk's report.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Mail review.
A few things. First thing being very important for our residents is the information on the basic STAR exemption. In the mail, you will be receiving from New York State Department of Tax and Finance within these first few weeks of September a STAR code that you will need to use to register for the basic STAR, as the state has going to be taking that away from all residents. And the only way to get it back on, and this is to reduce your school taxes for the year 2014, is to register. You are required to register online at www.tax.newyork.gov. If unable to register online, there is a phone number to call, 518-457-2036. This will be open from Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 8 p.m., and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. So you must look for that STAR code to come in the mail in order to be able to do this. The homeowners will be required to provide some basic information about themselves in order to retain their basic STAR exemptions, such as the Social Security number of all owners and their spouses. If you have not registered by December 1st, you'll receive a reminder notice from New York State to register by the 12/31/13 deadline. And this does not affect those with the enhanced STAR. They're not impacted by this legislation. They are still required to reapply each year with the town assessor, as they have always done, because they have to prove for their eligibility. So it does not affect them. It's not going to be removed, but they still do have to come in and see the assessor in the early part of January 2014. And new homeowners and homeowners who did not receive a basic STAR exemption for this year, the 2013 final assessment roll, they're required to apply with the town assessor by March 1st of 2014 for their exemption. And we do have a primary on Tuesday, September 10th, and this affects Clermont for the Republican, it's a Republican primary for sheriff, and that is countywide. Some of the other towns have other primaries going on, but for Clermont, it's Republican for the sheriff. I have a letter here from the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. On Saturday, September 28th, there will be a walkers' right in our community, the annual Columbia Green Out of the Darkness Community Walk to benefit the Capital Region chapter of the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. So you can go online to check into this for more information, www.afsp.org/Capital Region, New York, and that'll give you more information about it. I believe that's all I have.
I have a little more to add on exemptions, but I'll do that in new business, and I guess that's it. The only other thing I will add is that that has been added, I'm pretty sure, Evan, you correct me if I'm wrong, that has been added to the website, a link to
Yes,
the county, so we can, if anybody wants to go onto the website, the link to the county to find out how to file online, that is on our website at this point.
You can actually also look up your star code on the website I found.
Oh, you can?
Yeah.
Good, excellent. Good. So, we're going to try and help everybody make this as clear as possible, and I actually planned on having real property, the county real property, come down next month at our board meeting to do a little presentation and go through this information as well again, because it is very important. We want to make sure everybody that's eligible obviously fills this out and gets enrolled in this program, because I hate to see somebody lose it because they didn't do it properly or do it in time. So I'm going to have them come down and do a presentation next month as well. Okay. Correspondence to the web committee. Anybody have any questions, comments, ideas? Web committee? No? Okay. Oh, is the web committee just you now? Is that what it is?
I think so.
We'll just call it Evans committee. All right. Move on to committee reports. Ed.
Overfund. Next month in October, early October, there will be a meeting to discuss our application. I will forward Mary you some information. We just need a letter that states that we will be using this money for the parks and recreation, and what it, I think there's just two criteria, that we were going to use it for, and what we're going to use it for. But Mary will get that information. As far as the other grant, Mary Howard was away on vacation until August 29th, so we haven't had, here it is, early September, we haven't sat down to discuss the grant that we found that was applicable to the town park here. I would suspect that maybe next week or so, after we should be able to meet and discuss that in the next board meeting. Hopefully, it looked good to me, but I'm a layman when it comes to grants, and Mary's an expert, and it's possible that this would be another grant we could apply to the town park. Other than that, as we all know, the community building is done, and we should look at possible. Do you want to talk about now, another coat of paint?
We can do it now. I had it down here talking
Okay.
a little bit. That's fine. We'll bring it up when we get to the business.
Okay, that's about it then.
Excellent. Thank you. And that's the one that Hank called me on.
That's right.
Okay.
Yep.
Good. Perfect. Bob.
If you remember, Diane O'Neill was here last month talking about veterans memorials, and she was going to do some additional work. She's not able to be here tonight, but I did talk to her on Saturday, and she asked me to mention a couple of things. First of all, we talked about the discharge papers that are recorded in the county clerk's office. The DD 214 is not a public record. It's a privacy issue, so you can't get at those, so that didn't go anywhere. She did look on Ancestry.com, which does give lists of veterans for different towns. It ends with World War II. There apparently are more names on their list than we have on our list, so she wants to get some time to try and compare the list and see if there are some that should be on our list. I also noted that the Red Hook Memorial ends with Vietnam, so it's kind of hard to find veterans from the Gulf War now because of privacy issues and that kind of thing. I don't know whether she'll be here to talk more about next month, but that was what we have up to this point.
Amazingly enough, there's names down in Washington DC with all our veterans on. How did they get their names?
I have no idea.
I was in the town of Carroll, talking to the town clerk a few weeks ago about this issue. They actually have a plaque, and they have a whole, I should have brought it, maybe I have it if I find it, a color pamphlet that lists all the veterans for Carroll.
And where did they get it?
She didn't know, but they got it.
Gulf War veterans also?
Yeah,
Or does it end with Vietnam?
I'm gonna check that out, but she, as far as I know, it does. And she made note that, gee, they have a war memorial down in DC with all the veterans' names on it. So they can get it, but we can't. There's no consistency there. We can figure that one out. Very interesting.
Send somebody down there with a camera.
Then you'd have to sort out which town are they.
Let's see if I have that.
You know, but anyway, whatever information you
Yeah.
find out on that, we'll pass it on to Diane and,
Maybe this is-
maybe be able to do something with it. Okay.
That's our seat.
Next item, I just wanted to mention about the town park. Jimmy would like to put item 4 in the parking area this year, so it settles over the winter and packs down. And then we'd like to do oil and stone in that parking area. Because what happens is, people go in there and they do wheelies and spin around and mess up the gravel and also the gravel that's packed in good with the rain over time and the running on it tends to bring the stones to the top so it's not packed the same way. But we can put some in there this fall and then put oil and stone on it in the spring would be a good idea. So the gravel that he wants to do, and he'll put it down with the paving machine to get it nice and smooth. And it's going to take about 75 yards at $12 a yard, which is about $900. And I think we've got that money in Parks budget.
We do have money budgeted, we haven't used yet in the Parks
Well,
line.
You can bring that up on the new business.
Yeah, I mean, we can do that, that's fine.
And the other thing, we've been talking about swings for a while, in the fall surface. That's going to be a multi-step process. There's some preliminary preparation that needs to be done. We need to lay it out, put a border in and put some item 4 gravel. And then after that, we'll put the swing structure in. And then, in order to put the fall surface that we're talking about, they want us to put 4 inches of item 4 stone and stone dust to make a good solid foundation for the tiles to sit on. And then the fall surface itself, which, as I mentioned before, is somewhat expensive. But it's no maintenance. The highway guys don't have to go over there and keep renewing, putting in more pea stone or wood chips and raking it in all the time. I've been to one park where, an area where there's a horizontal ladder that the kids go hand over hand on, which is an area that they might fall off of. And underneath it, because the stone has been pushed away, it's as hard as concrete. I mean, there's no sense of even having a fall surface if you're going to have it pushed out. Whereas this stuff will be pretty much non-maintenance for at least 15 years and probably longer. It's more guaranteed for 15 years. I think we can get donations and grants. We've got some grants maybe coming in that we can apply to that. I do have some people that have indicated that they'd like to make donations. I'd like to maybe put a sign up on the corner of the surface that would be either memorial donations or individual donations or grants and business donations. And from people that I've talked to, although, until we actually start soliciting formally, I don't want to mention names, but I've probably got the neighborhood of $4,000 to $5,000 committed already. So the surface will probably cost us in the neighborhood of $15,000 to $16,000, and that's the list price. He already has told me that once we decide what we want for sure, that the manufacturer will probably give us a 9 to 10% discount. And I made a proposal to him to make it a demonstration project demonstration for us, because we've got 3 areas that we eventually want to do. And if we can get one done, then we can have people come in and see what it is and why we want it, even though it's more expensive, and get more donations for the next 2. And also a demonstration project for the company, because there's nobody in this area that has this kind of a surface at this point. So if they can increase the discount, they'll make it cheaper. Again, with donations and grants, we should be able to cover most of it. What I would like to do this year, however, is the preliminary preparation, which is the first step of laying it out, putting in the border with pressure-treated 6x6s, and then putting in some gravel. Item 4, let that settle in. And that cost for that, the 6x6s would come to about $850, and the 20 yards of gravel, which my calculations show we needed about 16, but if it ends up getting dug a little deeper, we might need a little more, so I figured 20 yards would be $240, so we're just over $1,000 for that. And if for some reason we decide not to use the fall surface that I'm recommending and we use something else, we still would need to do that preparation to make the drainage under the whatever we're using, whether it was pea gravel or wood chips, which hopefully we won't be using. So I'd like to do that, have Jimmy start on that also.
Now, this is something that Jimmy can do with in-house. I mean, we don't pay anybody to do it. He's going to do this, we just buy materials. So you're looking at about $1,200 probably. $1,190. It was $850 for the 6x6. 20 yards of gravel is $240. You said?
Yeah, so $1090,
$1090. I'm sorry, $1090.
$1,100.
We do have money, like I said, we have the money budgeted, the parks line. We have $46.55 in that line. We haven't used at least $300 so far this year. So if we're taking, maybe the parking area out of that, and that $1,100, that's like $2,000 out of there, so still leaves about $2,600 in that line item.
1990, so that, yeah, so $2,000.
So, that's the question of the board. I mean, we want to have a discussion on this, we want to try to move that, I mean, it's up to you. I mean, if you want Jim to do that, it should be done at this point, I would think soon, so he gets it in there and it settles in, and then, next spring is when we look at putting the rest of the material in, I would assume, so. What's the pleasure of the board? If you want to make a motion on that, you want to move on that now, or you want to?
I'll move that now. Move that we spend up to $2,000 to coat the parking area with item 4 and to do the initial preparation work for the swings area.
I'll second
I think we should wait to see what kind of grant money we got. Just because we have a line in the budget doesn't mean that's money we have to spend. I mean, we're not in exactly the best times these days, and we don't want to raise taxes. We want to save people money. Is it a need or a want? That's my feeling, and I'd like to see what the Hover Fund produces, or any other funds, and tap into that instead. That's my personal preference.
Yeah, my main concern has been that we're kind of going forward without a real clear plan as
That's
to
right.
maintenance and what this is going to cost the town, 10, 20 years into the future. And I thought it was great that you started lining up people who are looking to donate and do grants, but I'd like to be really clear that we have thought out ahead of time before we do this so that it doesn't end up becoming a burden to the town down the line. And I feel like we really haven't had that conversation as a board yet.
Well, I did have another concern, which is swings are a liability. Now, I was talking to Tom Garrett a few weeks ago. He's supervisor for Gallatin, and he was on the Pine Plains School Board for many years. According to him, and he was part of their, he was the general manager for maintenance over there. You're supposed to actually inspect those swings every day, I don't know, or a week, or some ridiculous amount. Are we going to have insurance issues that if we don't inspect them? Do we have to have a periodic inspection of these swings and things like that? I don't know. I'm just going by what Tom told me, working with this Pine Plains School Board. over there at their playground. Again, it's like Evan said, a maintenance issue. If there's something, if a child did get hurt there and we didn't inspect it on a have a periodic schedule of inspections, would the insurance not cover it? If a kid broke his arm or whatever over there. So I don't think we've really explored that yet. I think it would be advisable to do that. And that's just my feelings on that before we go too far. Because maintenance can be a very expensive thing to just, like taxes, they never go down, they always go up.
I don't know of any, because Germantown has, they just put a brand new playground there
Yeah.
as well. They had an old one there, but I don't know what their maintenance program was about checking the, I would think, you know, if it was something that was getting used by 1,000 kids a day, we'd have something daily check.
That's
You
another,
know, something
that's
like
right.
this, maybe once a month you check the nuts and bolts on it, you know, something, you know.
That seems
probably
more
something-
reasonable.
Yeah, something like that. You know, my concern is, you know, I do think we need something there for the kids. You know, a swing set is something all ages can, you know, take advantage of. That's why I was actually more inclined to spend a little bit more on a good fall surface, because you're right, that is a liability. That's where some kids, you know, can get hurt the most. But by going with a good fall surface, which is the best protection you can get, I think it limits our liability somewhat. And I really feel strongly that, you know, I've been saying all along, I really think we gotta get a swing set or a playground, you know, jump something, but a swing set I think is the simplest and actually the least expensive thing to start with. And then, you know, as we think about going forward, I think we really need to look at an overall plan. You know, if we get a lot more stuff, how much is involved in caretaking and maintenance? I'm inclined to move forward with a swing set until we figure out the rest. At least there's something there for the kids.
Well, I think it also shows our purpose to people we're asking for grant money for.
Right.
I think if we started, that's the way you get more grant money too.
No, we do have quite a start over there. We've got a ball field, we've got the parking lot.
Yeah, and we've actually, you know, we've asked people for donations to come forward to help us out, and, you
But I
know,
think
we
we
have
need
a
to
goal
keep
in
moving
mind.
as well, otherwise,
Well, I agree. I think a swing set would be a good asset to the whole thing. The only thing is, just because we have money in a budget doesn't mean it has to be spent. And if next month we're gonna be, the Hover Fund, they were talking about $5,000. Now, if we get $5,000, that's a pretty good chunk of change.
yes it is.
And,
That'd be great.
and then we wouldn't have to be taken out of a line item budget that's, because we're getting free money. Well, I guess, no, it's really free, but it's kind of a loaded question. But that's just my feeling on it.
But I think after I would like to see the swing set go ahead as well. And then I think it's time after that to sit down and start working on the plan for the future.
Right.
For where you're going and how and,
Well, that's what I'm trying to do with
What's
Mary.
going to happen from there.
But she's been away for most of the month of
Right.
August. We have this.
yeah,
you
it's
know,
been done piecemeal.
Yeah, a little piecemeal, but we're hoping to actually wrap it up by,
Right.
definitely by November, so that we
Right.
can make applications and get some money by springtime.
I think the swing set is also kind of a safety buffer during the ball games to keep the kids away from
It
the
is.
parking lot and the road.
It really is.
And I mean, and again, I don't have the concern about putting the $2,000 that we're talking about
No.
towards it when we're talking about $15,000 to $16,000 or more overall. That's gonna cost. I mean, if we get $5,000 donation, that's great, that'll go towards that, as a grant, but, you know, we also have some other money lined up for donations. We are gonna have to put some money towards this, no
We are.
doubt. The town's gonna have to chip in.
Mhm.
You know, and we'd like to keep it as minimal as possible for taxpayers, obviously. But as far as $2,000, I mean, I don't have the reservations, I guess, as far as moving that forward as much as you do, but that's just my feeling.
I don't have a big reservation with the size of the money that we're looking at, but it's more that we've just kind of continued on an ad hoc basis since I've been on the board anyways. We did the basketball court, and at that point, the thought was, well, we need something for the kids, which is what we're thinking again for the swing set. And I don't
Yeah.
necessarily disagree with that, but we've had, you know, enough time that we should have been having this conversation and planning out, you know, are we okay with going forward and kind of setting, this is what we expect to spend on the park yearly, including maintenance and such, and how does that fit with our town? Is that something that the residents, is that a level that they're comfortable with, or do they want less or more? And we've never really had the big conversation, and it's kind of continued ad hoc as things come up, which, I mean, none of these are really big things. The basketball hoop and the swings, I think they're probably both good things to have, but I don't want to continue to go on an ad hoc manner until it grows without ever really having that bigger discussion, which I think is important to have.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, we certainly have to have an overall picture, an overall, what's our overall plan going to look like? And, like you said, so far the ball field is really no maintenance, the guys have to mow it. Basketball court is no maintenance, and the swing set will be very little maintenance, I would think. But
Issues.
going forward, yes.
Going forward,
What else is
plan,
going to add? What do we plan to add?
Maybe
Buildings,
some
anything.
townspeople involved on fundraising and
Yeah.
so on.
And I agree with you, you're right, we should have that overall plan discussion, and that's something we should do soon, absolutely. But as far as putting some stone or, stuff on the parking lot, I think that's a necessity, we're gonna need a parking lot, what we do.
Right.
And then $1,100 towards getting ready for a pad for a swing set, I would like to see that, so I mean, I would certainly like to go forward with that point, so that's all I have to say, so.
Yeah, I think that, as we continue to show progress that we're going forward, that we will get, as we mentioned, we will get more donations. And we have kind of laid out areas that we'd like to have a 2 to 5 play area, a 5 to 12 play area. The swing sets is certainly going to be cheaper than those 2 play areas. The other thing that we need to complete this area will be a couple picnic tables, maybe a couple of trees to give a little shade in some of the areas. And basically that's the plan for the whole park.
Right.
Okay, now, there's other things, there's more land that we can do more things later, like a walking trail or something, but talking about the park area next to the ball field, that's basically the whole plan. There's the swings, the two areas for playground equipment, and a couple of trees and picnic tables. And then that area is pretty much done.
And again, we have to have a discussion on
And we
costs
should.
on that, because
Yeah.
that's gonna be a
Yeah.
tremendous, it's gonna be a lot more than what we're talking here.
Yeah.
But, that's the overall picture that we need to take a look at and have, a future discussion on.
I'd suggest that we go ahead with the preparation for the swings and then set, I know we got a workshop coming up for the budget, and we're gonna be working on budget the next month or two. But either sometime during that time or shortly right after that we schedule a workshop night and talk about this. And probably invite Mary also, because we can talk about not just what we want to do, but how we're going to fund it as we go forward. I think that's certainly reasonable to do.
Okay, well, got a motion and a second, we had discussion, all in favor? Moving forward with 900 and then 1100,
Aye.
opposed?
I'm gonna say nay, because I
Nay.
just want to have that discussion.
Okay, I'll vote in favor of it, so.
Okay, and then,
Nay.
no, okay.
That will be coming out of line 7110.41, parks, up to $2,000. And the balance is currently $46.55. Okay, we did that. Bob, you have anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay. Evan, you want to add anything?
No, nothing really.
Okay, other than that, we have everything on the website, that's good.
Right, but
Excellent. Nancy, do you have anything you want to?
No, nothing at the moment.
Okay, a lot of updated information here. I really don't have a lot of new information, unfortunately, on some of this old topics we have. The bridge update. I was promised last month that we'd have a meeting, the prices were gonna come in for the bridge replacement on Bingham's Mill Road. They did not. They didn't get the estimate yet. They're expected this week or next week. That's what I was told a month ago, so I don't know, it should be coming any day now. As soon as we receive that, I'll have a meeting with the Public Works Commissioner and take a look at it, and then we'll go to committee to see what option we're gonna go with, what the prices are, and take it to committee to see if we can get it approved for next year's budget. So I'll have an update for us at the next meeting before it goes to the committee probably. So I'll let everybody know as soon as those numbers come in. Data collection, I just want to keep saying this because we're about 3/4 of the way through with the data collection at this point. I think we have about approximately 300 parcels left to go, 200, 300 parcels left to go. The data collector is going around house to house. If you haven't seen her yet, or haven't had a card in your door, she should be there. She's hitting every parcel in Clermont again, part of our 4-year reassessment program. And it's just to, again, to keep everything up to date, the data collection cards up to date so we can keep it as even as possible and as fair as possible to everybody in the town as far as your assessments go. Audit update. The auditor I spoke to last week just received some of the final documents he needed, and he was still waiting for one more document to come back from all people, our attorney, Andy Howard. I want to put him on the spot because he's actually held this up. We should have had the final done by now, but they do want an answer. He wants an answer, the auditor wants an answer from Andy if he has any concerns or had any concerns about anything that's went on over the years, over the past year that he's auditing, and he needs that signed off by Andy. So I called Andy up, spoke to him, told him I really need this form filled out, sent back to him. I believe he completed it. I'm going to say he did it Thursday or Friday and sent it back to him. So he should be buttoning this up. The auditor wants to meet with me and Mary next week, possibly this week. I think we're going to do it next week to go over some of the things he wanted to, just finalize with us. And then by next meeting, we should have hopefully the report in hand. If not, we'll have the results, some of the results from it. Nothing alarming, kind of like I think what we had in mind. I think everything's in line. Hasn't brought up any issues to me and wasn't concerned really about it. He had some pointers. I think he said he's going to point out that could be improved upon. But again, I don't know if we get the report. But there's nothing alarming in it as far as I know. So when I do get that, I'll let everybody know and certainly have the update, hopefully the report next month. The clerk's computer is done. It's installed. Part of the bill in this month's abstracts was for the installation. It's up and running. It's working great,
Yes,
right?
very good.
Mary's happy. She's got a new cord. It's working better than better than can be expected, right?
Yes, very good.
So that solves that problem. The assessor's laptop, which was approved at the last special meeting, has been loaded by the state and the county. She's been using it. The assessor's been using it, and she says she's thrilled. It's been great. It's working fabulous. So that's going to make her job a little easier. Obviously, going forward with the speed that this one will at least go as fast as she needs it to go to keep up with all the pictures and updates she's putting in. So both of those are up and running. New business. I want to mention, I want to set a workshop date for a budget workshop for Monday, the 23rd of September, at 7 p.m. to discuss the budget. And I think we should advertise it just in case, and all our business that may need to come before the board, whoever you board that, please.
Okay.
Just to cover us if something comes up that needs to be acted upon. But that will be a budget workshop, 7 p.m., Monday, the 23rd of September. The Academy, we had discussed and awarded the bid for the painting of the backside of the Academy building. The work has been completed. What we've decided and talked about and looked at is that the back of the building really could use another coat. It is coated, it was primed and painted, but it really could use a second coat of top coat paint to preserve it as best as possible. We solicited the person that we awarded the contract to give us an idea what would it cost, and he gave us a verbal price of $650 to put a second coat of paint on the backside. I think that's a reasonable price to have another coat of paint put on to preserve it, and I would suggest that we go ahead and award that $650 contract for the second coat of paint on the backside. And then as far as next year's budget, we need to really take a look at the last three sides, the other three sides of the building. There's some scraping and painting that needs to be done on basically the other three sides, and maybe get the whole building done next year. Excuse me, the three sides done, so the whole building is completed next year with a full coat of paint. So, but at this point, I'd like to talk about an award of bid for $650 to put the backside to the same Stats Contracting and Sons, which is not me, but it's a relation. So, just a full disclosure.
So,
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None going to abstain, obviously. Thank you. Okay. We have the assessor we appointed last month. We appointed Cheryl Kozluga as our assessor. It's time to reappoint her. The term that she took over for our previous assessor runs out September 30th. Our next meeting is obviously the second week or first week in October. I'd like to go ahead and approve her reappointment now so she doesn't lapse her term, and appoint her for the term of the assessor, which is a 6-year term, starting October 1st, 2013 through October 1st, 2019, right?
7,
19? 6 years, correct?
Until September 30th.
19.
September 30th, you're right, I'm sorry, expires September 30th, 2019. Any discussion?
So moved.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. By the way, she's doing an absolutely amazing job. She took over, not in the best, obviously, way to come into a job with the passing of our previous assessor, but she's jumped right in, and she's working on the data collection. I think she's doing a great job, and we certainly appreciate her hard work to try to get situated in a short time. So we look forward to continuing our working relationship. Star exemptions. We talked about this previously a little bit, but I just want to mention this is important. I would like to have, and I'm going to schedule a member from the real property county come down, do a presentation on this, just to make sure everybody realizes what they need to do. It's very important that you have to go back and fill out this information to reapply for the star exemption. If you do not reapply for the star exemption this year, you will not get it. And they are going to be asking more questions about social security numbers. That's one thing that I don't think was required in the past, but that is what they are looking for, because they're trying to do away with the duplicates of dual residents claiming star exemptions or benefits from 2 different areas. And that's the main reason. I think they're trying to target the people that are getting exemptions from 2 different areas. This is a way they're going to try to eliminate some of that. So, as Mary said, this does not affect the enhanced star. You still have to go through the assessor and apply for that every year. It's just the star, the regular star exemption. So we will have, like I said, next month we'll have a presentation on that to hopefully fill everybody in. If anybody needs to ask questions, they probably can, but this will certainly at least get on the TV and probably clear up any questions that there are. So I'll request that we have that next month. Next month we also will probably have, as far as I know, we're scheduled a presentation from WORPS, New York State Office of Real Property. Are going to come down and do an update on where we are with our data collection. They're going to go through and just explain the process, talk about the evaluations and stuff that they do on their end, and just fill everybody in and answer any questions that are brought up to them as far as the state reval process. So they want to make a presentation as well. I think we'll have them first at 7 o'clock and try to schedule the real property maybe at 7:15, 7:20, and then continue on our regular meeting. If people remember years back, there's what they call an environmental management council that the county has. It's one representative from every town makes up the council for the county. They deal with all environmental issues, setting suggestions, regulations, reviewing stuff that goes on through the county. We do not have a representative on that council. We had one years ago that declined to continue, and we haven't, I've mentioned a couple different times, but we really haven't had any interest to have anybody on this committee. And now I have an individual that said they'd like to be on this committee. They're friends with another person in another town that are on it, and they'd like to, to be our representative. So I was happy to hear that. I was eager to jump at the opportunity to have somebody that's in Clermont that wants to be on this council. So this is not a town board appointment, it's actually a county board appointment. But I just want to mention that an individual named Ralph Arlick, who's over on Old Road and the other side off of 9G, has volunteered to be on this committee. It's a non-compensated committee, it's a volunteer committee. And I told him I'd certainly mention it to the board and bring it up to the county to have him appointed. So unless anybody has an objection to that, I'm just mentioning that I'm going to have him as our representative. So I'll have him put on his September meeting. We did the parking lot. And that's all I have. So supervisor report. I'm going to keep it brief tonight. First, I'd just like to thank everybody that was involved with the town barbecue. The town barbecue committee, they had, again, few people, you know, there's a few people that do a lot of work. I mean, the volunteers are difficult. I thank everybody that was involved, that did help out. And I know all of us were there at some point or another for the day, part of the day, but, you know, helped out. Actually, I think your daughter was with us on Monday, which was nice. I know I saw everybody there. Everybody was there. Nancy was in the kitchen all day. So I mean, but as far as the other volunteers go, I mean, it's just it's difficult to put an event on when you don't have enough help, and we had you know, enough to do it, but we certainly could have used more people. But they did an excellent job. It was a great time. Had some new things this year, worked out well. And I just want to make sure I thank everybody that was involved. I can't go through the names because I'll forget somebody and I don't want to offend anybody, but I certainly want to thank everybody that was involved with that. And I just, again, mention one by name because I think they get forgotten once in a while, but Germantown Telephone Company, again, comes out, hangs our banner for us with their trucks, the 2 boom trucks, and they come out and take it down again. I want to thank them for their help on that. They do it every year, and I think I forget maybe sometimes to thank them, but I want to make sure I thank them again. And personally, Tammy, obviously she's the head of the committee. I should certainly label her out because she's done a tremendous job this year after year, and she does a lot of the work, and I certainly think she needs to be recognized above and beyond, but we appreciate what she's done for the town. Larry Salpa took over the tractor pulls this year, in the passing of Charlie, which used to do it every year. And he did a great job as well. I want to thank him. I don't know if anybody's aware of it. I'm sure most of us are aware, we know, but he did have some health issues, had some surgery, and he's recovering now, and we just want to wish him well. And obviously thank him for everything he does. I know he brought down a ton of tractors. I think most of them were his and John's, and you know, it's an amazing amount of tractors. It takes a couple days to bring down and take back, so I mean, you know, he goes above and beyond as well, so certainly appreciate everything he does. I'd like to also mention the upcoming barbecue for Clermont Fire Company. They have a steak barbecue over on 9G at the firehouse. It's the second Saturday, which is the 14th. So the steak bake is the September 14th. I believe they serve at 6:30, and I think the tickets are $20. Don't quote me on that, 20 or 21 or 2. But that's coming up, so if anybody's looking for tickets for that, certainly let us know here. Contact the firemen. Let me know. Whatever, we can get tickets for that barbecue still. So that is coming up on the 14th.
You got tickets tonight?
I don't have them with me, no, but I'll get them. So, a couple county issues. The courthouse, obviously, front and center is the big issue in the county. It's one of the biggest projects we've done. It's moving along good. Completion still on target for some time. They think early January, mid-January. I'd be surprised if it's done by then, but who knows? You know, I think it's going to be close. It's coming along nice now. Finally got past the asbestos hurdles, which has been slowing things down, and it's on track. We approved a heating system for the building. I think it was last month, to redo the heating system in there, which is greatly needed. Now this past month, that came through committee was talk about windows. All the old windows were originally left in the contract to leave in there and to not address them at this point. The committee has decided to authorize the architect to go ahead with bidding those windows out for replacement. It's estimated, and again, this is rough figure, $300,000 to $350,000, $400,000 to replace all the windows. But they are all the old single pane glass windows that are non-efficient, very noisy, and just, they should be addressed. I mean, we're doing a $10 million project here. I mean, to not put windows in is just ridiculous in my mind. So, you know, a lot of people would say, well, you keep adding on, adding on, adding on. We originally budgeted $10 million for this project. The bids came in around 7.6, I think, for the project as it stood, and we've added on the heating system, and now if we add on the windows and some of the change orders that come in, we are still going to be under the 10 million, but it's getting close. It's about 9,405,000, I think, is the number. But the fact of the matter is, you know, this is done every 100 years. You know, the windows in there are not efficient. It just don't work as far as you know, heat efficiency and noise. So I mean, I think it's a good idea we follow through with this as far as putting new windows in. I voted in favor of authorizing the architect to go ahead and draw this up and get a bid out, and we'll see where it comes. We took this out of the original plan only because, you know, when we originally bid this, we wanted to keep the numbers low and see how much we could get done and see how the change orders were going to come in. So, you know, you obviously have overruns on a project. We wanted to make sure we could afford to do this at a later point of the game, and it looks like we can. So I wouldn't say it's totally unexpected, but it was not originally put in the budget. So we are going ahead with that, and like I said, it's progressing well. I'll keep everybody up to date as far as what I know when I know it. The Pine Haven has been, the site has been underway. Soil borings are being done on the site over there that have been done already. We don't have the results yet. They tested 2 spots. One, the original spot we were looking at, which was on the other side of the ravine, which is the harder terrain to build on. That's the $5 to $6 million site costs involved with that site. There's been a lot of discussion about trying to get away from spending that much on a site cost, obviously, because we can put more into the building if we don't have to spend on the site. So they've done some borings on the other side of the ravine, closer to the old Pine Haven that exists. There is a way to fit it on that parcel on this side if we change the design of the actual building, which may mean stacking the 2 stories instead of 1 sprawled out design. It still works very well. I think it's a good option. If we can cut the site costs in half and do that, I think it's something that we will consider as a committee. But right now, they're doing the soil borings to find out if that's possible and if it makes sense. So I don't really have any new information. We did authorize the architect to go ahead and work on the site development and get us the costs on both sites. So at this point, we're still awaiting the results of the soil boring to know what we're doing. What else? What else is going on? The county put out a bond resolution to bond. I think it was roughly $13 million bond. Had a lot of different things in there. A big part was the emergency communication system. I think that's something that obviously we need to have in this county. That was a big portion. I think it was $7 million roughly. That's for the new tower, the new communications, and the frequency wave that we need to purchase. There's some other stuff in that bond that I was a little surprised to see. I did vote in favor of the bond, but we're bonding some highway equipment, we're bonding some road funding, some other small items for, I say small, $500,000 to $1.5 million that really should be in the budget or coming out of the budget. And I think it's because of the money restraints we have in the county. I think that everybody's feeling this crunch now that the county is tight with the money situation. And I see this as a way to alleviate some of the stress off of that, but I still don't agree with the fact that we haven't really done the hard job, is cutting the costs. I mean, we're still spending money without making the hard cuts. And I've been advocating that we need to do something different, and it just isn't happening yet. So I just going to put out there that the county is still under stress as far as money goes. That we've heard different reports from the treasurer and the controller that we have plenty of money, we're not going to have a problem. I don't necessarily know if I agree with that, and we'll certainly know come the end of the year. But I think we need to be tighter on the way that the money is spent in the county, and I don't agree with some of the stuff that's going on. The back taxes is a huge issue that has been tackled finally, and I've been saying this, I think, probably here for years about how we need to collect these back taxes. It's finally become an issue that's been acted on. There've been a lot of letters went out to the back taxpayers, and the county has collected, I think, about $4 million in back taxes as of right now for this year, which helps offset some of the money that we were lacking in the budget. That's a really kind of a bonus in my eyes, because you have a pool from that back to 2006 that hasn't paid taxes. You have a large pool to collect from. So now a lot of that money is being collected. Going forward, you're not going to have that pool to collect. So it's going to diminish the amount of money. So they can't count on that kind of money every year. But it's certainly a bonus this year because it hasn't been acted upon in 4 years. We haven't had any foreclosure. So it's certainly helped out in this budget a little bit. it may be the saving grace that might get us by the skin of our teeth this year, but I certainly don't think that's a practice that we can continue and rely on. So I think that's an issue that the county has to act on and has to be more prudent on how we handle the foreclosures. And the budget season has not begun yet in the county, hard to believe. It should be any day. I mean, years past, we've always had budget meetings before now, but it hasn't come to committee yet. I'm assuming it'll be this month's committee meetings that the budget will start, the process will start. I don't expect to see a 0% increase this year around, but I don't think I will be able to support any increase until the spending gets under control. So I'll let everybody know how the budget process works as we start this year, and keep everybody informed as we go through it. I think that's about all I had to say. If anybody has any comments or questions on county meeting stuff, they can talk to me after the meeting as well. That's about all I had. We'll move on to motion to pay abstract.
Move that we pay highway abstract number 9, vouchers number 84 through 95, in the amount of $30,599.54.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
I'm sorry, with the truck going by, who was the second one?
I was the second.
Evan, Mary.
I move to pay general abstract number 9, vouchers 219 through 245, in a total of $10,932.23.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, public communications, public comment. Do you have any questions, comments? Throw in, Sam?
Ray, when the building was painted the west side, the windows,
Yes.
Say.
The trim, not the windows themselves. They were just done when we had the storm windows done.
the sash was done.
The sash was done when we had the storm windows put on.
Surprisingly, over the last, or many years, that building is painted periodically. The windows are skipped. They aren't part of the bid. And we're talking about honey, the critical part. So we ended up 10 years ago putting a bunch of new windows in because they failed. They hadn't been painted. Buddy drops out, snow, water settles on that little bridge, windows fall apart. There's a couple spare windows inside the kitchen, in the closet, brand new ones, never used, that we got from Williams. We just got a couple spares in case needed. But those windows have to be addressed every time the building is painted, I feel. Something else, that cupola up above, that's a delicate little rascal up there. And you can go around the outside of it and look at it, and it looks fine, but you really don't know what it looks like until you get inside. And you need to inspect that cupola on a rainy day from the inside. It looks fine on a nice sunny day, no problem here, but you don't really see the problems until you get inside on a rainy day. There's a bell in that cupola that actually works. There's a cord up there, you can ring the bell, just like you can ring the church bell over here. But you've got to squirrel your way all the way up to the top of that thing. Those louvers up there were originally designed with screening, but that fails after a while. Birds come in, bees come in, and you can't detect that because of the angle of the louver unless you really work at it from the outside. Very obvious from the inside. Leaks you don't detect from the outside, only from the inside on a rainy day. I crawled up there and took a magic marker and fixed things and inspected things and had the last couple painters go. And then I signed it and dated it, not for a glory trip, just so that somebody would know the last time that cupola was inspected from the inside. And I can't remember the date I put on it. But at some point when you do address that building with another paint job, somebody's got to go up there and look at that from the inside out of that little dome area. It takes a bit of athleticism to get up there but preferably on a rainy day where you can detect leaks dripping down. Why is this wood wet?
So there is leaks, is what you're saying? It's-
Well, we fixed them, we caulked them,
Okay,
but you never would have detected that had you not gone up there.
okay.
Also,
That was a few years ago.
that's a few years ago, also that attic up there, nobody ever goes up there.
I've been in it once.
Okay, but did you notice the cracked rafters?
No.
There's some cracked rafters, especially on the west side. And if you go out there and look, you'll see dips in the roof. At some point, they need to be cisterned. I mean, we just keep ignoring them because it still sheds water. But there are dips, especially on the west side, on the roof. You go up there and look, there's serious cracks in those old rafters. And fixed now, you could probably just cistern and get away with it. You don't really care what it looks like.
Right,
You don't have to go back to original.
right.
You just want to, but somebody has to crawl in that attic, obviously with some lights, and just go the whole length. You probably saw those two bolts that hold the building together.
Yeah.
There's two threaded bolts that go east-west, the screws on the outside, the nuts on the outside of the building, basically hold the building together. But fine, the building's all together. But that has to be looked at up in there. And it's not falling down, but it's periodically, maybe once every 10 years, the cupola and the attic should be looked at.
How old is the
Any
furnace?
Volunteers?
Not on a hot summer day.
How old is the furnace in that building?
I don't know
The
that.
answer.
Because it went out on us last year, thanks, when we were doing the election day dinner.
I don't think that
And
was.
that was just a
old.
minor repair,
The
but I was
furnace?
down in there
The
with
furnace?
John when he went in to
I
get
don't
it
think it's all that
started.
old.
No?
I don't think it's that
15
old.
years would be.
Okay, that's
15?
not so
I
bad.
put a
I
furnace
mean, the
in
whole
there
cellar
once.
looks like a dungeon from 150 years ago, so it's hard to tell.
That furnace, the one that's in there 15 years, you think?
Maybe. I don't think it's too much old.
I was just curious.
All right. I put the one in prior, before that when I was a kid, with my dad.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's been
So
about
that's-
I
since.
think there's one after that.
one after that,
Oh,
okay. All right. As long as we're not talking that's as old as
If
everything
we have to
else.
address the,
Yeah.
for spring, the front of the building and everything, Ray's right, this is a good time for us to, maybe on a cold, wintry, rainy day, when it's not hot and the bees aren't up there, I can go up in there. I'm making a note of it, and, you know, February, you get that drizzly type of weather, it'd be a good time to go. It'd be safe for me.
Yeah.
I'll go up and we'll check that out.
Take a look at it, there's, especially if there's cracked rafters and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that's simple to fix now, like I said before they let go. I mean, it's just
Yep.
not gonna be done.
Yeah.
Just
That's
scissor
not
them
an
up with a few
expensive fix, is
No,
it? No.
some timber screws and a couple
Yeah.
2x6 or 2x8s.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
We'll put that on the list to check. Thank you, Ray. Okay, any other questions, comments? Okay. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So we'll
Second? We want it to go on forever.
All in favor?
I think it's too early.
Opposed? Carried, thank you.
Oh, I'm gonna go for another minute past 8.
Yeah.
maybe you want to go for a little while more, and I'll add some more stuff in the car.
There's no
Someday we're just gonna not adjourn it, and that'll be